Greetings and welcome. I am Joffrey, and today I am joined by the Darkest Light and Vector Maximus. They're both in the same call. It's crazy, you know.
It's a miracle.
It's a good thing, too, because today we're discussing the first part of the Catholic Church. And see, most people will be looking at this image here and be like, "Whoa, what are all these different colors? What does all this mean?" But the Joff man only sees one thing of importance in this entire setup here, and it's that, of course, the most important theocracy exists at game start in England. It's beautiful. Hello, Rashawn.
Gorgeous.
Greetings to you. I don't know why I forget its name right now, but Durham, I think. Yes. I am much happy to see Durham. Also, the Principality of Wales has been mangled. It's I want to see more British Isles. British Isles feedback, please show us. All right. But to get started, yes, Catholicism and its associated Church International Organization. It is a part of the Christian religious group, and it has a bunch of things it does. Max literacy for clergy goes up 25%. It's curious that that's something specifically that the Catholic Church does, so maybe different, I guess different religions aren't always going to be that way. Sometimes the clerical class will be more educated than other times.
Priests gotta read.
I guess that might not be as important in Protestant religions as far as Christianity is concerned. But maximum tax for clergy rate goes down 100%. You simply cannot tax the clergy, which makes a lot of sense. And one of the big reasons, of course, why a lot of monarchs picked up the Protestant Reformation in the first place was, I don't gotta pay the Pope, and I can make the priests pay me? Perfect. Monthly reform desire. So every nation that is Catholic presumably ticks up this modifier, maybe? I don't know. But regardless
they did specifically say in one of the comments, this monthly reform desire does not trigger the Protestant Reformation. Unlike in EU4, this instead ticks for reformist movements and stuff within the Catholic world. So like the Council of Trent and stuff, I presume will be triggered by the reform desire instead.
That does make a lot of sense. I'm very curious how systems like that would work, but you two have mentioned to me before we started, next week is when we'll apparently be learning more about the major events that can happen over the course of the game that will affect the church. Ooh! Papal ban on empires. Now that is
Can't form an empire.
Does that does that mean,
says no.
Does that mean that, because the Pope needs to crown an emperor, of course, does that, but later you get the French and Spanish empires, so...
But they're still called the King of Spain. Empire wasn't Empire wasn't really meant to refer to like their specific title. They were still called King of Spain.
Yeah, it's because of that translatio imperii concept. There can be only one emperor, and that is the Roman emperor, who is endowed by Christ the right to rule all.
Yep.
And
so all you got is the HRE.
And even the British Empire was also only ruled by a king. So interesting how that works.
Well, Empress as Emperor of India, but yes.
Yeah, and to be fair, they weren't Catholic by that point.
Yes, but it's an interesting point regardless that's stuck, despite the Anglicanism.
Yeah, Victoria did ask pretty early in her reign, from what I recall, if she could become Empress of Britain. But Parliament was basically like, that stinks too much of Napoleon and the Catholics, so you can't be, and too much evil, overbearing government. So you can be Empress of India, but you can't be Empress of the British. So interesting bit of internal politics going on in Britain there, because she wanted to be Empress.
Unsurprisingly. Uh,
Only exception to it, I think, was genuinely the Latin Empire, because that was supposed to be East Rome, well, HRE's West Rome, but that one didn't last very long.
yes, there was a period of time when they both existed at the same time, but yeah. Well, they weren't exactly following the same religion anyway. Unless you can. Then again, the Latin Empire was a thing, but that's a whole nother kerfuffle.
A kerfuffle is an apt summation of everything involving the Latin Empire's existence.
The first thing that came to mind, and I stand by it. We also have monasteries allowed. Presumably, they'll explain what that means.
It's an illusion of the monastery's time.
For extra money, I guess. Yeah, that's what that did in EU4 at least. Cannot declare wars on religious head without CB. So you can't declare an OCB war on the Pope. What a terrible thing. What a surprise indeed. I mean, it's harder to get CBs or by and large, but I'm sure that isn't going to be the most restrictive of things. But yes, Rasak, I'll be curious to see what sort of modding capabilities some of this might have. Of course, there's quite a few modifiers already we've seen here, so lots of potential things. Enables religious influence. Needs a major religious reform. Reform desire. Has a college of cardinals is another modifier, and has an official religious head is another one. And the papal states as special status. So that's the international organization. It's like the religion that has an effect on that. That makes sense. Okay. And it tells you how many pops are it. That's cool. I do like that interface thing. Presumably there's something similar for cultures, because I'd like to be able to hover over cultures and see its total number of pops in the world. But 85.3 million Catholic pops in the world is a rather scrumptious number. I mean, as long as you don't look at China, but still. And shows you the largest in descending order then, by amount of pops that are in it following the religion. So yeah, if Castile, curiously, I wonder if how much of Castile's population is Muslim, and if they converted their Muslim pops, they would overtake the tag of France for most. That's funny.
I don't think much of it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most have either been expelled or converted, although there might be some crypto Muslims still at this point. I'd need to double check my Spanish history books.
They were not exactly kind to the Muslims that got reconquisted.
They did tolerate them for a time. I mean, they didn't just immediately expel or massacre them. I mean, they tolerated them, with increasing pressure up until. So essentially, they got converted in kind of the same sort of ways that the Jews were, and then the same sort of fears about crypto Jews applied to crypto Muslims. So, yeah.
It is interesting to see Bohemia and Naples both on this list. There's a couple Anjou realms on this. Oh, it gives you religious description. Unfortunately, I doubt we'll have cultural descriptions, so people will probably still have to code that in for their mods, but oh well, it is what it is. We're used to it by now. We do not have blocked from conversion. Huh. So that this is presumably, yeah, convert to religion and you're blocked from conversion for whatever reason. Don't know how that works. One thing to highlight here, beside all the other effects, is that Catholic countries are not able to tax their clergy at all by default. By default! Although there may be other things modifying this on top of it. However, the clergy won't necessarily swim in money, as that has to be instead paid to the papacy directly in the form of a tithe. The papal state is presumably showing the papal state's income, Catholic Church tithe, and then a vassal maybe? Another key aspect of Catholicism is that all countries will belong to the Catholic Church I.O. And the curious thing about this that I haven't mentioned yet, I guess, is that there are some countries here that have different shade that are not, because you have, of course, the blue countries, so theocracies, the green ones for holy orders, including the knights down there. But Papal State, Aragon, France, and Aquitaine.
I believe these might be people involved in the Curia.
Yeah, those are people with cardinals.
Oh, Aquitaine and Majorca have cardinals then? Okay. Wouldn't have expected that. But
well, these are starting cardinals, obviously. There's going to be a lot more with it as it goes on. But yeah, you can see in the next picture, it shows all those countries that are in like the cyan are listed there. I think some of those are also theocracies, and I'm just guessing that the theocracy color overrides the cardinal color.
That would make sense. Yeah, I could believe that. And it lists all the different government types here differently. So perhaps they have different effects in the church. Because you've got your military orders as well. Love some of these flags. There's a couple I don't recognize.
Yeah, I really like the way the flags turned out in Project Caesar so far.
I love the texture, for sure.
Yeah, the texture is fantastic.
A lot of those are subjects of the Teutons, I believe.
I don't think that the Teutons have... Oh, they do.
They do. Yeah.
I thought that all of their vassals were bishoprics, as you see up here. But some of them are holy orders. I mean, the Livonians are a holy order. That's a subject of them. I just didn't know that the ones over here are also holy orders. I only knew of the 2 holy orders that were involved in the Baltic Crusades. Well, that's curious. And then 483 other members in a tab that they have artfully closed. Yeah, 700.
Probably for the best.
Not 700. 76 bishoprics, and that does include the Papal State. So, all theocracies. Yes. And there's one country that's flagged. Some of them just look the exact same, I swear. But you have one here that looks almost exactly the same. In fact, I don't know what would be the difference between it and the Knights of St. John. So, I am pleased to see that St. John is listed at the front of this image, of course, as they deserve. And then, of course, the Sword Brothers, the Livonian Brothers of the Sword, and then the Teutons. And then the rest, of course. This is the order of 3 most important, of course. You can see here that there are quite many countries belonging to it. The total list is expandable and scrollable, with some of them having special statuses. For bishopric and military order, these are self-explanatory, but the Curia and cardinals need some more information. The decisions concerning the Catholic Church are taken by the Curia, which is composed of cardinals. In Project Caesar, cardinals are represented by a special building, called a cardinal seat. Available to be built by...
This is something that I actually have to disagree with their design choice, because this is just a building you can build, and they replied in the comment, there's no cap to how many of these you can build. Theoretically, you can build 100 in France and have 100 cardinals. with only and I think the only thing gating it is, an opinion with the Pope. Basically, you need 30 positive opinion to be able to build them, um, which doesn't seem like to my understanding. For most of the Middle Ages, the Curia, there were like 24 to 30 cardinals in all of Europe. So, and it was something that the Pope did. He appointed cardinals. Powers had to kind of vie for it, and just there's been in their desire to give the player agency and maybe abstract away some of the complexity. I feel like they have overdone it here and not well. They did say in a later comment that they are taking into account people's feedback and are going to be looking into improving it. So I hope that leads somewhere constructive. But yeah, I'm not too happy with how things currently stand.
Rasak and Gemalt, with your statements in chat, are you saying that? So yeah, he made a thread, in fact, about the subject.
Oh, I have not seen the thread, so I will have to go hunt that down.
Okay. Because as of now, Catholic countries higher than county rank can build it in any location where they already own a large religious building. Don't know what a large religious building is necessarily, but fair enough. The country can use its influence on the decisions of the Curia, and countries can have more than one cardinal. Yeah. And there's 7 countries in the Curia, but a total of 16 cardinals split among those 7 countries. We were not late this time, Hot Pocket. In fact, this is earlier than we usually do it, and I scheduled it and was on time. Large religious building as a cathedral. If no cathedral, you can't build the cardinal seat. Well, that would make sense. Yes. I could see. I don't know. Is that a specific building they've explained already in the list of buildings? I was not late. That is a lie. I was on time. I was on time this time. You shush, all of you. But I don't know if we are.
I looked up the thread. I can link it for you if you want.
Sure.
I still have to agree with most of the criticisms in the comments. This does not particularly allay my fears. Essentially, there's a religious influence currency that you have to spend. And one of the comments that people have in response to this, it's not a terribly long thread, is essentially, unless religious influence is something that is reset every time a pope dies, it doesn't really properly represent how cardinals actually come about, which is the pope determines where a cardinal is going to be. So, like, if you're spending religious capital that you've gained with the current pope, okay, that's fair game. But if it's something you've accumulated over the past 4 popes, that doesn't really make sense, because what 4 popes ago, the Pope cared about is completely different from what the current Pope cares about. So I'm still not particularly enthused with the system, but it's at least a little better.
I do like the idea of how in because in EU4 you have no control. You just want to have more dev'd up locations that are Catholic in Europe as well. That's the other thing that's annoying about it. Personally, you're fine with it. It's just an abstraction of the politics behind this election. Well,
No, it would be fun. And as I mentioned, I get it. There needs to be a degree of abstraction, but as I'd mentioned, it depends on how religious influence works. If it resets every time there's a new pope, then that makes sense because it's you currying favor with the papacy for whatever reasons, or with the particular pope. But if it's just something like kind of in CK3, how you can just keep accumulating piety endlessly to then spend, or gold or, what have you, then it doesn't feel so appropriate to me because the person that chooses a cardinal is an individual, the current reigning pope. It's not the Catholic Church as an institution to be bribed, if that makes sense.
So, and there's in the chat the comment about you don't know how possible it would be to build and maintain cathedrals in all your locations. The thing that I'm concerned about is the notion that as long as you can build these important buildings, these large churches, you are theoretically able to just continue to get more. So there is no limit to how many cardinals there can be, and the cardinals, they have not stated anything about cardinals being moved, so that there is simply just, if you've got a spot that could have a cardinal because the church is large enough and you have enough of this influence with the Pope, which is probably not hard to get at all. They haven't explained it as being difficult to get. You just get it. Like in EU4, presumably, you're able to just spend that influence to get yourself one, and it's just there now. You have it. To get increasingly costly to build another. Price based on total amount of cardinals. That's fair. I do like that. Thank you for clarifying that.
Because my two biggest concerns are this does not show the agency of the Pope and the Church hierarchy enough, and it will result in there being more cardinals than there actually were in the real world. I mean, it's not guaranteed to happen. Maybe they balanced it so that it results in a historic outcome, but I don't know. I still just feel like something has been kind of lost in the gamification here, which is inevitable, but I still feel like they could have done this a bit better. Like maybe it's some sort of thing where you have to spend religious stuff. This religious, what's it called? Religious influence, where you have to spend religious influence to petition the Pope, and then you have a chance of getting a cardinal. If you fulfill all the other requisites, and then it builds this building or what have you. That would be how I would prefer to do it. And yeah, I kind of Hot Pocket is getting at what I'm getting at. Cardinal should be more than just a mana point per country sort of deal. They should be integral. Cardinals and getting cardinals and controlling cardinals in history was one of the most Byzantine and bloody internal politics in the Western Christian world, because they were so important, because there were only a handful of them, and they were who voted to be the Pope, the head of the Christian Church, the vicar of Christ. So I don't know.
It's a funny so Rasak, it's not a character game, but I do kind of like Hot Pocket's idea of, because characters still exist. It's not a character focused game, but characters exist, and I'm sure it would be possible to have a character appear in the papacy where you would you would make this cardinal seat, and then a character would appear in the papacy, and they would just have it in their court, and that character would get generated upon the creation of a cardinal seat, and then you would need to renew a cardinal seat every time that the cardinal from it died somehow. So that could be a fun way of implementing it, especially if you're playing as the Pope. Could you imagine how interesting it would be to play as the Pope, and you have all of these cardinals in your court who come from all over the Catholic world. So especially if Catholicism expands into the New World, if there were any cardinals from the New World, then you could have that would further expand the amount of cultures that you could have these various people that are coming to the Holy See to be in your cabinet. Hmm. Well, of course, their interpersonal relationships wouldn't be reflected, but what is better to have the character be represented in some way so that they can pop up and be affected by events, or if there simply is no representation of the Cardinals at all, other than just the seat. Because personally, I'd much rather every seat have a character that's associated with it, that is in the Pope's court, and that when said character dies, it would affect the seat, and whoever owns the seat would need to decide what to do about it. No, no.
But one of the comments farther down on this building chain, I think, had a really good idea that I think is a good middle ground, which is, and it kind of builds off what I had already said earlier, which is instead of building a cardinal seat, you can build a bishop's seat out of these large churches because there's hundreds of thousands of bishops. And then you can spend the religious influence to petition the Pope to elevate that to a cardinal because that seems more close to real life, in my opinion. And does a better job of actually showing the importance of the actual Pope in this whole thing, because presumably a player papacy could then get the option to deny such requests, whereas in the current system, they do not get the option to deny requests for cardinals.
Yeah.
Which completely goes against how cardinals work.
They definitely should be something that needs to be approved by the Pope. If the Pope does not like you, they definitely should be able to say no, and I would prefer it to be more nuanced than just have 30 plus opinion or some such thing. I would like to see, there's another thing, Vector, a reasons for or against. You ask the Pope, can I have one? And the Pope's like, well, we've already got 56 of the bastards. I don't want to make any more. I know we love you. This is a great spot for a church, but there's too many as is. If we were going to have any more cardinals, I need to extend the room of the College of Cardinals another 17 feet that way, and I would just ruin the whole architecture of the thing. So now, sorry, but we're not giving you any more. And give them some malice that continues to increase the more cardinals there are.
Yeah, or it opens up an angle where the papacy can condition it like, okay, you want a cardinal, you build the bishop, the bishop's seat. You send the request to the Vatican. Vatican player then gets the request. There could be a yes, no, or there could be a yes, but only if you do Y for us.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Sweeten the deal in some way. Yeah. See, very little actual difference in the end. You need something to judge who the Pope selects, and the influence is it making it random would suck. No, we're not saying random, because it is already random, and it does suck. We just want the Pope to actually have some sort of influence on it at all, because as of now, there is no input from the Pope tag whatsoever. They're not involved in the discussion other than having a positive opinion of you, which is very boring. All I'm saying is
that's fundamentally my issue is the lack of the Pope has a vital part in this role in this whole thing, and it is not being represented beyond a basic check.
and it's not a complex thing to do either to add on top of the other things. So you need to have an appropriate location for a cardinal, and then the right amount of influence. So, right, you have the right amount of influence. You have a spot for the cardinal to go. But there's someone you forgot to ask. And then you have to ask the Pope. And then the Pope will have yeses and nos as to why they would or would not let you. So you could have the nicest church possible, but maybe even though it's the nicest place, like, who knows? Who knows? Maybe you could have it be like, oh, numbers of pops. It's like, how nice the location is. Does it have unrest? Are the people, how satisfied are the people in the location so that the cardinal's going to be safe there? How many people are there? Is it a large population? And is it number of Catholics in that location? A development of the location, things like that. And maybe over time, just due to how much more the world gets developed, if the Catholic Church stays strong, maybe the number of cardinals will on average increase because of just places being developed and there needs to be new cardinals added. That could make sense. Beyond the soft cap. And then if you have things that cause the cardinals to not be renewed, like cardinal dies, you don't have the ability, the Pope will not allow you to renew this one, and then the cardinal seat gets removed and does not come back, then, well, maybe it gets recycled to a more fitting place. And the Pope says yes or no based on everything I just said. Yeah. Does he like you? How nice is the place? How much influence do you have? Maybe you need more. Maybe you need to do this or that for the Pope. Maybe he will, on top of saying yes, be like, all right, now that, I grant you permission, but you have to do this thing as well, as Vector has said. Build more churches, convert more people. Maybe he'll be like, all right, you shall be granted the cardinal. I see everything is in order, but how about you also build 3 more churches in this region and also convert more of these people to Catholicism? There's a little too many Cathars left in southern France, and if you don't get rid of them, I'm going to be upset, and you wouldn't want me to be upset because I might not let you have the cardinal after all.
Ultimately, those criteria could be as complex or as simple as Paradox would think is balanced, from a gameplay and a player experience perspective. The issue is the complete kind of cutting out the ability of the papacy to say no.
Yeah.
Because there were plenty of states, I imagine, that had plenty good relations with the Pope, but they weren't able to just suddenly proclaim, we now have a cardinal, without even, running it by the Pope first. I mean, that is my fundamental issue here. The papacy, particularly in the hands of a player, should be able to say no, because the papacy could be a capricious political bitch.
They might decide that a certain country is too strong. And they say, no, you're getting too big for your britches. And even though we've got good diplomatic relations with you, that doesn't mean that we want you to have any more influence with us, because you need to be put in your place. And especially if you're a player, as Vector is saying. But I do believe we should move along. What the
Yes, my apology on the massive digression there, Joffrey. It just is the largest concern I currently have at this time. So
No apologies. No. This is exactly what we're here to do. Is to go on digressions within digressions about this sort of thing to discuss what we think is good and what is not good. And this is one of the very few times that we have seen anything in Project Caesar that makes us go, huh, that tickles me the wrong way. And I'm not very ticklish, so that's not easy. But yeah, the fact that having a cardinal seat increases clergy food consumption in the location is kind of funny. I really hope that we're able to do. That's one thing I really want to do is make pops of a certain culture use more or less food, because I am very keen on making a particular cultural heritage in our mod use like 35% less food or something than everyone else, so that their population can just soar. I also like it mentions market access for how easy it will be to get the materials you need. Yes, Claw. No, Nathaniel Claw. I would like that a lot. Yes, if you have to ask the Pope and then they build it for you, but you maintain it. That's an interesting idea. That would actually, imagine if the cardinal seat was a papal building, like the papal state owns the building, but it's in your land. That would be funny because you can do that. Anyway, debug stuff. Neuron activation. Debug code on screen. What? Papal authority? What? Another aspect of the Catholic Church I.O. is its doctrines, represented by a set of laws. These laws are not something that is easily changed, as it's what defines the core values of Catholicism. But some important events will be able to shape them, like, for example, the Council of Trent. More on that in future Tinto Talks. And here are some of the law's effects. Ultramontanism.
I actually had to look this up real quick, but it's essentially papal supremacy. So, very strong pope, a lot of power, secular, temporal, and spiritual power both are vested in the pope, and he is the final authority. Compared to something like conciliarism, which holds, yes, the pope is first among the equals, but a council of the church has higher authority than any pope. So, like the Council of Nicaea cannot be overridden by any pope. So, that sort of thing.
So here, yeah, the idea being this is the papal authority law for the organization, and right now it is the highest authority that the Pope can have. But there are potentially things that could cause that to change. I believe that in real life this is not a law that has changed, but technically could, as any law can, technically. If the Pope can say no, this law would never change. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, the Pope can just right now. The Pope has full power. So the Pope is the person who would need to say, yes, I give up my power. Just as like the thing Rasak, is that you say, well, if the Pope can say no, this law would never change. This reminds me of a certain French monarch who just said, I am in charge. And then he got his head cut off. I don't know why, but he said no. He told people no, but it happened anyway.
I strongly suspect this will be tied into the ability for the Catholic Church to schism under multiple popes and potentially different papal authority laws. And then if one of them establishes themselves as the supreme pope, well, then that becomes the ruling doctrine for all of Catholicism. So, because conciliarism was something that got several tries in history, so.
Didn't work out, but there were lots of anti-popes. It's just that I don't think a single one of them ever won. But they tried.
Some of them sat in Rome. Some of them sat in Rome for a time.
But they didn't win in the end, though. Because
they did not win in the long run of history, yes.
Yeah. Which is very funny. We will see. We will see. Rasak being the controversial opinion this stream. Very unusual. It's a religion, not a single tag. And then, yeah, the response to your statement of it's a religion, not a single tag is it's an international organization. That is what these laws apply to. These are the laws of the international organization of the Catholic Church. And those laws are granting authority to a tag. And that tag might get overthrown any number of ways. It might be as subtly as an anti-pope being declared the righteous pope, after all. Or it might be the Holy Roman Emperor marching into Italy and then smacking down the walls of the Vatican and telling the Pope what the hell is going to be done, which definitely did happen from my understanding. Oh, I just noticed that there is actually, there's 4 different invisible church. Invisible church for a papal authority law. What? How?
Doing a quick Google search.
I doubt it.
I do not think the invisible church I found is the invisible church they are talking about here, so yeah. I am befuddled as well.
Because, like, in real life, none of the other laws became a thing. So it's just hypothetical. So there's theoretically a way where the Orthodox Church could have its way and the Pope not be the supreme authority, but and you could take it all the way down to just no authority for the Catholic Church, which is wild, I must say. That is a wild possible outcome where the Catholic Church could lose all its power.
Gallicanism, so Ultramontanism is essentially supreme papal authority, above all the secular leaders of the world.
Yeah.
Master temporal and spiritual. Gallicanism it's Gallic, so it's French, essentially. And it's essentially the Pope is first among equals, but is not in the secular realm is not above any other secular ruler. So it kind of holds them on equal level of, say, the King of France.
Yeah.
Conciliarism says not only is he just the secular equal, spiritually, a council of the faithful and of the learned clergy is supreme above any pope's interpretation. So this is like running a gambit of essentially what the pope's authority is. Ultramontanism is supreme both secularly, temporally, and spiritually. Gallicanism is first among equals spiritually, maybe, depending on interpretation, supreme spiritually, but temporally, he is just one prince among others. Conciliarism is, he's not even the ultimate final authority spiritually, so I'm assuming the invisible church is he doesn't even have that much, just going off kind of the trend. So
I don't even know what that would do. It sounds bad, but I don't know what. Have they said anything about the possibility of restoring the pentarchy? I don't know yet. I would imagine that such a thing would come in the next dev diary, where they talk about things that the major events that can change Catholicism. The purchase of indulgence. Oh, goodness. Yeah, that's a socioeconomic law. And there's 3 different laws here. Okay. And this gives the Pope 2 gold per month. And then if you're not... So if you are the Pope, you gain 0.1 religious influence per month. And if you're not the Pope, you gain half of that, 0.05. Okay. Not too much to be said about that. Fair enough. It's not affecting the reform desire, so that's interesting. The marriage of priests in the estates law. Huh. Isn't that curious? In Rito Romano. That is the default one, but there are 2. There are 2 others. But of course, the default is that the clergy cannot marry. And it gives you progress towards communalism if you are the Pope. You get quite a bit, and everyone else gets a little bit of that as well. Very curious. Laws are far more detailed than I expected, with several options. I kind of was expecting just one. Just like one other than the main one, but having at least 3 each is very interesting. Because I mean, you would expect this is just an obvious on-off kind of thing. Can the clergy marry? Yes, no. but no, there's 3, so I don't know what the difference would be. I have no idea what the difference between the 3 would be. A persecution of witchcraft!
Burn the witch. Heed not the witch.
This one only has 2, though. But that's odd, because the default law gives you progress towards humanism?
despite popular belief, the Catholic Church has held for a very long time witches do not exist. And that any attempt to root them out and burn them at the stake is a bunch of superstitious nonsense.
So the default law for the Catholic Church is that they don't exist.
Basically,
it would need to change later on to witches exist, burn them. Wow.
If I recall, most of like the famous witch burnings and witch hunts that you know of were very Protestant, not Catholic.
they were almost all Protestant, I think.
Yeah, and the Salem witch trials, for example, yeah.
And the few times that it was a Catholic one, it was not with, you know, the approval of the church, and normally resulted in people getting censured for it, essentially.
Insert Monty Python reference. Yeah, this ruined the Monty Python skit. What is going on here?
This is definitely one of the occasions where it is an unambiguous Catholic W over the Protestants. I say as a Protestant.
Common Catholic W.
God damn it. We have me, an atheist, Catholic and Vector Protestant in the same call, talking about the Catholic Church International Organization. Oh, what do we have ourselves into? Brilliant stuff. Oh. I love. What do you mean, Mouse? I love debating Christology.
So, anyways, what are your thoughts on Sola Fide, Vector?
Society of Jesus. What?
That's the Jesuits.
Persecute. They're not going to talk about the two, other than they're like persecution of witchcraft. Yeah, we'll talk about that one, but not the Jesuits and the veneration of saints. You're not going to touch on the fact that they've got veneration of saints as and reliquaries as a potential change of the law.
Oh, tell me, they talk about saints.
Okay, good. Oh, there's a category.
Yeah, there's a tab.
Oh, that's
I
exciting.
actually take this back. I actually take it back. It was not just the Cardinals that I disagreed with what they're doing. I also disagree with what they're doing with the Saints.
The Saints. What about Papal
Yeah,
Bulls?
I didn't like what they're doing with the Saints
Oh,
either.
and I was getting so excited too.
It's basically what they did in CK2.
I don't remember that. It's been a long time, man.
Basically, from the using the bloodlines, you could basically declare yourself a saint without actually needing to have the. It's another instance of they've removed the church's agency involved here, and they've hand waved it by saying, "Well, there were lots of folk saints that people started worshiping before they were canonized by the church, but a folk saint is not a Catholic saint, and this is the Catholic Church International Organization."
Yeah, this is like the exact system where you theoretically this is the exact system that has been built to facilitate the Pope, the Pope and whatever country the Pope is from having more influence on this sort of thing, like being able to say, no, you just can't canonize this person as a saint because listen, the Pope is from my country and I don't like you, so sucks to be you.
And in this time frame, there's a whole ecclesiastical body vetting saints and approving their ascension into the ranks of saintliness. So,
I've never watched Vikings, but I have, for example, I've been shown like clips relating to the whole situation where there's like a character who's saying like, oh, see, this character should be made a saint, and they're like bullying the clergy into making false reports and other such things. So it should be a whole thing based on various factors that you could try to increase or decrease the likelihood that someone could get chosen. But I'll have to read along. But I'm assuming that it's just another case of you spend influence on it, and as long as you have the influence, then it's good. But right now we're discussing papal bulls. Yes, their actions any Catholic country can choose to propose, but only those in the Curia can vote on whether to pass or refuse them. The Curia, they said that's like, do bishoprics count as that? Or is it specifically?
No, the Curia is the College of Cardinals.
Okay.
It's just Cardinals.
Only countries that have cardinals, yeah. Makes sense. So, papal bull, excommunication is now a papal bull. Well, these are certainly words.
Indubitably. You speak fluent Latin, right, Joffrey?
Yes. I mean, with such a fancy name as I have, of course, fluent Latin speaker. Ilius quis pro divini. Mm-hmm. But this gives you a wait. Oh yeah, that's spending the papal influence. So it gives antagonism impact down for everyone. Just everyone gets that. Soldiers of Christ. So this is for, yeah, sanctioning war. Yeah. And there's another one for maritime presence going up. Yeah, just like in EU4, they're very handy bonuses to have. Oh, Arboria's borders look different. When voting on a papal bull, the interface changes slightly to show how many cardinals support each option. It goes without saying that all the cardinals that a country has will be assigned to vote for the same option. So the amount of cardinals a country has is effectively the amount of votes they have. Look how this game is already better at being a Crusader Kings game than CK3. No, you're right, Mouse. No, on launch, this game is going to have a functioning College of Cardinals system. Meanwhile, in CK3, there is literally no system for it.
I'm not even going to try to argue it because it's true. It's CK3's biggest missing thing, I'd say, even above any sort of Republic trade shit.
Yeah.
Nothing for Catholicism.
People always point at, like, republics, give us the republics, and the fun fact, republics are a very small aspect of CK3. I would rather have China before. I'd rather have China and hordes before republics. As much as I love them from a modding standpoint, they're just not as important by any means. Cardinals, though, the game is Crusader Kings. It feels like it's like the fact that there's no it's as if there were no crusades on launch.
Look, man, we needed to break into the Chinese market. That's why we're getting China first.
I mean, I'm not going to complain. I've wanted China and East Asia for years.
No, Mouse, I'm serious. I'm genuinely serious. I'd rather have China than have republics. Like, I would rather them give us playable China and administrative stuff than Republic, because republics are not very important. I want them. Especially as a modder, I want them. They're just not very important.
But yeah, the weakness of the Catholic Church in CK3 is definitely the biggest stain on the game currently, I'd say. And who the heck knows when it's coming, because it's China this year, and then they basically already promised that we're doing trade in republics next year, so we're still, functionally 3 years out from the Catholic Church? Jesus, that's sad.
Don't say it's so, Vector. Don't say it's so. It's going to be a better Vicky 3 game without even being part of the Victorian era. It's true. It is true. Truth nuke. Right. But moving. Yes. Excommunication. The act of excommunication is available to all countries in the same way. And if approved, you will get the excommunicated country some very nasty modifiers and allowing for a special CB. Yes! This is delightful. I very much want to be actively, early game, actually, never mind, just as a Catholic country in general, I really want to get cardinals so that I can outvote other people and make someone make someone become excommunicated, and then I will get a delightful CB on them, because it's going to be hard to get normal CBs in general. So excommunicating someone should be a lovely way to attack them. All countries of the same religion gain -100 opinion, and the excommunicated ruler CB. Doesn't seem to be a way to revoke someone's excommunication as of now. I don't think that exists. Oh, wait. In EU4, I think you can get rid of it by buying indulgences somehow.
No, it's just like the same button.
Oh, yeah, you know you can buy indulgences in CK3 to get rid of it, but yeah. I mean, if you say it's the same button you can do to get rid of it on yourself, then yeah, maybe.
It's very unintuitive in EU4.
Yeah, for all I know, it doesn't even exist.
Oh, you can add excommunication and remove it, but I don't think there's anything with indulgences.
Oh, I mean, in CK3, buying indulgences is how you get rid of it.
Oh, I was talking EU4.
What the heck? That is a lot of a lot of Wessex.
So
Yeah, Wessex, Wessexian
my
saints.
biggest issue with this is that it seems to imply that just about every saint was a ruler of some sort. When in fact that was very much not the case.
Saints and holy sites. Saints are characters of a country that have been elevated to sainthood. A country can choose to canonize any of its previous rulers, specifically rulers, yeah. And
yeah, that's
they will
my problem.
get benefits depending on the abilities of such characters. So they're trying to take the imperator system of deifying a ruler and give it to the Catholic Church, which is a very fun system. I really like the deify ruler thing in Imperator, and just thinking about it now almost makes me want to play the game again. But still,
Thematically, it does not work.
yeah.
Because again, this is a process centralized and controlled by the Catholic Church. It's not a thing a country can just do.
And the holy sites are special locations to the Catholic faith, giving some extra income to their owner due to the affluence of the faithful to them.
It's fine. It's just like taxing pilgrims that come through.
Yes, that does make sense. Yes. Huh. This is really the really strange thing is them showing this estate icon next to all these people when they're all rulers of countries, which makes it even more strange that they're shown as the noble's estate, except for the one. There's one character who is shown as the noble, as from the crown estate, which they all should be, which is just even more adding to the confusion. There's an update to an Imperator beta today? What? I know they made an update a while ago, but I don't think it was they did another one recently. And I do not have the time to be playing Imperator now because I am futzing around with CK map modding. I was doing some Imperator map modding a while ago, trying to do the province map of my planned mod, our planned mod in Imperator. But fun fact, Imperator is the first Paradox game to use the modern map editing software, and it is horrible. That first version of the map editing stuff is dreadful, and CK3 has been much better to work with in regards to that. So I'm gonna keep doing that now. Tons of stuff to help modders. Well, I don't know if that's gonna convince me, man. Right. Holy sites. Yeah, Canterbury. What was the number? 2. The heck? The circle. Outside the Catholic Church per se, and instead in the main religion panel, there's some extra religious actions available to certain countries, besides the already mentioned option to canonize a character. They say character, but they mean ruler. You can't canonize like a brother who was a really wholesome chungus or anything, you know. It's gotta be the ruler. It's always, they're turning everyone into St. George. Rip St. George. I don't know what the little sliver of red is. The worst part, static holy sites. Well, I mean, did they really change? Static holy sites, like, is that really a problem in the context of this game? Demand apostolic tax is an action exclusive to the papacy in which they demand extra payment from those countries with the apostolic tax privilege enabled. Huh. That's something you give to the clergy, I guess. Request aid is an action exclusive to the military orders in which they can ask to petition support to the Pope for their infrastructure, military, or coffers. And Placitum Regium is an action available to kingdoms or empires that give them some extra crown power at the expense of relations with the papacy. So you just ask the Pope to use their influence to help support your crown. That sounds very useful, despite the fact that it will make the Pope like you less for abusing their authority. And one last thing to mention is that, as you can see, Catholicism also has reform desire. However, in contrast to some of our other titles that present this value, here it is not a ticking clock for the Reformation, but instead something that will come into play in the Council of Trent. As such, you will have to wait a bit for a further explanation on it. That is all for today. Next week we will resolve the cliffhangers by taking a further look at what Catholicism has in store after the start of the game, including the situations of the Western Schism, Reformation, the Council of Trent, and on the other hand, in this week's Tinto Flavor, we go directly to the head of Catholicism by taking a look at the flavor content for the Papal States. Also, remember that this week's Tinto Flavor will be on Thursday. Yes, so it is. It is tomorrow. See you next time. Wow. They copied the religious icon from Imperator. Yeah, it's not the same icon from Imperator. It's just it looks. I don't know how. Because they've shown this icon before. It's not the same icon. It's basically because it's a sun. It's also a picture of a sun, but it is not the same picture of a sun. It just looks very similar because it's a picture of a sun. Calling it reform desire will determine how much of the church will change its laws in the Council of Trent. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because maybe that's what this red line is how much reform desire it has. So perhaps the reform desire is not a ticking clock to the start of the Reformation. The Reformation will happen, not regardless. But how much reform desire the Catholic Church has, will determine how much pressure is put on in the Council of Trent and other such things to cause, or like to actually change the laws of the church. Yeah, that would make sense. Your point, the 0.7% is probably Jews in the Papal State of France. Oh, because this is the religious tab of the of the Papal State, so Holy Sites 4. Yeah, that's probably what this is. The Zero Saints. Yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy. The extent of the changes might impact the Reformation itself. Maybe. Maybe. Because the Council of Trent. No, the Council of Trent happened in response to the Reformation starting, did it not?
Functionally speaking, yeah.
Because it's like their reaction to it. So I mean, maybe it could have effects on the Reformation, but because I could totally see there being a like what my guess is, because y'all are making your guesses. My guess is that there will be a way that as the Pope, you will be able to uh, pass sufficient reforms to the Catholic Church. If you reform the Catholic Church enough, there will be very little reformation, if any. I suspect there will be a way that as the Pope, you will be able to just do enough reforms that the Reformation will not happen. I don't know if that's for sure going to be a thing, but that is my guess. I suspect that will be the game plan as the Pope, is try to quell the reform desire and try and make people happy enough that you can stop it from being a thing. Though I'm sure that the Reformation will always happen to some degree. It's gotta, right? There's no way that they could just make it not happen.
Yeah, because the church did try to head it off a little in advance in real life. The Council of Basel, Ferrara, Florence was a thing. It didn't stop the Reformation. We'll put it that way.
Looks like I do still have enough time to look over some dev responses. I mean, I doubt there's going to be much more dev responses that we haven't talked about already. But we can skim through here before I gotta go. Not to work this time, though. For once, this is not me leaving because I have work. It's instead I'm going to visit friend. Talk about the schism next week. Yeah, there's the big amount of disagrees on abstracting the process. Countries didn't always follow the papal procedures before they started venerating their past rulers. Saints are not exclusive to Catholicism. What?
Well, there's saints in Eastern Orthodoxy.
I guess it just.
But I do disagree with this implication about, since saints aren't tied to Catholicism and thus not the Pope, we've decided to just completely abstract away the church's role in the Catholic Church International Organization.
So, saints are shared between all Christian countries?
No, what I think they're saying is that they've set up this saint system so any religion can use it. So they've been lazy, and that's why the church's role is utterly abstracted away.
Because I am more than fine with saints being that way in literally any other religion. I just think that Catholicism...
Yeah, and that's my view as well. Yeah. My issue is not that this is the case in some religions. My issue is that it's this way in Catholicism.
Well, I guess I know what rant video I'm going to go on tomorrow. Tomorrow I must...
With the Catholic Church in EU5. I can already see it.
The Catholic Church is wrong? The Catholic Church is problematic in EU5?
No, the Paradox has neutered the Catholic Church in EU5.
How Paradox ruined the Pope in EU5?
I mean, I could definitely see the angle. Like, they've ripped a decent amount of his power and authority with all these abstractions.
Woke. Paradox has gone woke and ruined the Catholic Church. Yes, of course. I don't know what I'd call the video. I'd think of some catchy title, of course, but it wouldn't be that one, naturally. Crusades are called... There we go! The Pope can call crusades. Well, we'll take a screenshot of that one. I need to grab these screenshots for my rant tomorrow. It shall be an unscripted rant, but it shall have, of course, I'll have to show pictures for it. Protestant Swedish company ruins the power of the Catholic Church. Old grudges die hard. Get all the screenshots today. Yeah.
SMH, why do they not discern between minor basilica and major basilica and cathedra?
Why is it so different? What is the difference between the different tiers of church? I mean, different tiers of cathedral, I guess. Yeah. There's no hard blocks for that. If they wanted to, they would only need to be able to afford all their construction and maintenance. So you just build as many large churches as you want. This is going to be something that they have to do a feedback post on. That's for sure. Or yeah. This is going to go on the short list of things that people have backlash on. And you know what the funny thing is?
As you mentioned, so far the response has been very positive on almost every aspect. They had to bomb something sooner or later. I guess it has to be the Catholic Church.
You know what the funny thing is too? I bet that most content creators don't care about this. I highly doubt that this is something that content creators care about usually. Most of them are probably confused why people are upset. The poor Pope will have to console himself with his faith-wide taxes. Yes, indeed, Rasak. He'll need to buy himself a proto-Pope-mobile to assuage his the lack of authority, temporal and spiritual authority the game has given him. While everyone else is making content, I am making art. How truly honored I am to be described as making art with my unscripted rant videos and podcasts with the boys.
The truest art comes directly from the heart.
Oh, write that down, write that down, write that down. Any dead character of a country can be canonized. Okay. You could canonize Leonardo da Vinci. I can get behind that. I'm going to canonize Leonardo da Vinci. There we go. Anglo-Saxon is not a culture in the game? No! No!
I'm not surprised. This is almost 300 years after the Norman conquest, so
Well,
can't say I'm surprised.
I know, but still, I just wanted some. Just a few. I thought my head is the art. What do you mean, Abe? Shouldn't have gotten cucked by the French, and then we'd still have Anglo-Saxons. Yeah, I guess so. Lovecraft will never live down the shame. Let me take a screenshot of this too. Various Latin laws and papal bulls. Yeah, there's too many of them to address all at once like this. The Teuton vassals be bishoprics. That's what I was confused about, yeah. Bishoprics are for theocracies. Well, yes, but I thought that they were theocracies. I didn't know that they were other holy orders. I mean, I won't go so far as to say that I know Teutonic history enough to be like, well, of course, no, this document says that there were only two holy orders, and the Teutonic lands. What peace deal does the CB give? Yeah, easier conquest, and perhaps an option to replace the ruler would be interesting to consider. I would certainly hope that you would replace the ruler as a part of it. I, uh, I mean, yes, obviously that the pretext of it is that you get to conquer land easier, but the primary war goal, I say the primary war goal of declaring a declaring war against someone for being excommunicated, the primary war goal should be to replace them. I wonder if there's a way that you could get a relative of yours on the throne through that CB. That could be interesting, wouldn't it? I don't know if there's much precedent for such a thing, but that would be an interesting thought. If this person is excommunicated, you topple their current ruler and say, "Here, my brother's going to be the new king." Hmm. Yes, only yeah, only the HRE can be an empire and Catholic. I wonder if you are a Catholic, if you're a country that is not Catholic and you become Catholic, will your empire status be revoked though?
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Say all those missionaries in Japan actually succeed.
Yeah. Surely the emperor of Japan would not be demoted.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I can't envision that.
When
The
they were
Heavenly
trying
Kingdom?
to-
Technically or historically.
The
when they
Taipei
were trying
Heavenly
to
Kingdom
convert
is
China.
yeah.
When also the Taiping weren't Catholic. But yeah, when they were trying to convert China, they never once had that request or demand.
They were Protestant?
The Taiping were none of those. None. So believe it or not, there are actually no Christian denominations other than the one the Taiping followed that believed that the Taiping emperor was the brother of Jesus.
So
Can't wait for him to be made a saint and apply to all Christian groups across the world.
So point being, whatever, regardless of whatever he stated he was, he would the Taiping would be a different a different Christian religion.
They were different.
Oh, yeah. No other Christian sect would accept random Chinese dude is the brother of Jesus.
All cardinals will be dependent on the cardinal seat building, but the papacy has some extra too. Has some extra what? Has some extra cardinals?
I'm assuming the papacy just gets some consolation cardinals thrown at them, like, oh, you get 3 by default. You get 3 votes by default.
Some extra cardinals that don't have seats?
I guess, which is funny to think about.
This is all wrong. This is all wrong. The Cardinals, there shouldn't just be like. I can't. The Pope shouldn't just have like a couple spare cardinals lying around. All of the cardinals should have seats that they are assigned to, and the Pope should have a struggle between whether the Pope or that country has authority over said cardinal. I don't know how they would do it. I'm no game designer. I am a modder, but that doesn't mean that I presume to know how this should be done. But what I do presume is that this should be a more nuanced system. Pope goes to the meeting of the Curia, realizes he needs some extra people on his side, just pulls them out of his desk drawer.
What are these stuffed animals? Oh, these are Cardinals Frank, Bob, and Jeff.
Sits them on some chairs next to his throne.
Yes, you don't need to hear them speak. Just know that they vote whatever I want.
God, there's so many things. Oh, that's not Madfur, but a lot of them are. Madfur is making so many comments as usual. This is unhinged, and now I know that he's going to leave a comment on this video because he's going to get to this point of this stream, and he's going to be like, "Joffrey's reading all of my comments. I'm so smart. Look at all the responses I got, Joffrey." And he's going to leave a snarky comment, that little cat profile picture. Individual.
If you didn't notice, that last comment on the previous page addressed the Cardinals as characters idea.
Cardinals be a character. We're abstracting it in the buildings rather than the characters.
Sag.
So what? The Pope has no cardinals in his court? Who the fuck's in his court then? Who are all these people? The Pope looking around his court. Who are all of you? Who are these people?
It's like
in fairness, most of the time the Cardinals would not actually be in the Pope's, at Rome, except when the Curia is being called for some reason. But yes, I still think this is a missed opportunity that I'm not happy. Really? Some of them would be, but many would not be. Essentially, because a cardinal is still a priest. They still need to tend to their flock.
I thought that it was...
Cardinal Richelieu was essentially the Prime Minister of France for a good 20 years.
Well, that does make sense then. I could forgive them if they include in this abstraction a random chance of sometimes a character showing up in the court of the Pope that is a cardinal, and it randomly generates their culture from any of the different cardinal seats. I could forgive them for that then, or even if you take it even lower down, I could say, okay, just randomly generate some of their courtiers from places that have the seats. Even then, it's like, fine, I could forgive. I could forgive it if you extend it to that at least. Yeah, the cardinals are tied to buildings. This was the way to have new cardinals. Yeah, the Pope just... It's just so ironic that we're immediately going to see the Papal States flavor right after being told they can't do this, they can't do this, they can't do this, they can't do that. Sorry, here's all the things the Pope can't do. Here's what they can do, though. Just so you don't like it when people ask multiple questions in a post and then they're answered in a single post. Yeah, because they'll be like, 1, 2, there's 3, wait, 1, 3, what? What is that? 1, 3, you missed 2. Well, piety system like CK3 restrictions. Please others to be moddable. Yes, they have to be the correct religion, and the system is completely done by scripts. Okay. tier, so there's like an importance level of holy sites. That's curious. Mm. Yep, the papal mana is a thing. All right, fine, I guess. Yeah, the no Catholic country can become an empire as long as the HRE stands is an interesting thought.
There can be only one Lord of the Catholics.
Holy orders were being assigned to both holy order and bishopric status. It's changed. Okay. Whoo! Ooh!
Yeah, I really like this comment.
This is a big statement from Lord Thanatos, indeed. Wow. Wow. Um, and the response that Roger has given to this is just, I took note of this for suggestions on improving the system. Thank you. How the hell do we summarize this? Um, wow. Revered dead of various kinds, like saints, should be a system that's expanded and used across multiple religions and handled differently for them. Uh, People that aren't revered as saints yet, people who are revered as saints but not canonized yet might have different statuses. That could be interesting. I'd agree with that. Um, the system sounds boring and inaccurate. Getting a saint sounds like it's just a cost problem, not one of trying to get acceptance from the head of faith. Yep, there should be hard blocks. The Pope's influence is the core tenet of Catholicism, and you're undermining it by the very nature of how you're portraying the faith mechanically. Perhaps countries should be able to build a cardinal seat, but they should still have to try and get the cardinal elected to that position. This is completely the wrong way of representing the way cardinals were appointed. If it's meant to show the corruption of the system, that should be done by having countries be able to bribe the papacy for a seat. Cardinals didn't just show up at the College of Cardinals without the Pope's explicit approval and endorsement for the position. A minimum relation wouldn't even suffice. There are only a few seats, sometimes fewer than 30. In addition, there should ideally be a way for the Pope to adjust the number of seats in the college, as was done historically. That could be another law. That could be an administration law that the Pope can change. This was done in order to limit the college's power when it suited the Pope, and to open up opportunities to appoint new cardinals if that would win allies and support. Also, don't know how the Western Schism is going to be portrayed, even halfway accurately, if you're not going to be representing the various competing popes who are all appointing their own cardinals, which would not be recognized by the other popes. Quite honestly, there's a lot we should rather be discussing, such as whether there should be enough nuance to have cardinals from your country not always vote in line with your wishes, or what should happen if your cardinal dies and you lose that seat in the college. The basics should be correct before we have that sort of conversation. Right now it seems like you've neutered the papacy's role in the faith to an unhistorical degree. Under this system, he's a powerless figurehead in his own college and unable to even control who's canonized. Again, this is boring. I don't have some abstraction in mind, but you've removed all the political nuance and intrigue that came with the position of cardinal. Somehow it's made the most politically bloody, interesting institution in Catholicism a boring one, where the Pope has no power and there is just a positive opinion and some money sent between Catholic countries and having a seat on the college. Wow! I basically agree with everything you said as well.
Yeah, yeah.
What a fitting way to end this particular stream. I shall be taking a rather large screenshot of this, and this post here is going to be the center point of my tirade that I'm going to go on tomorrow. This is perfect. And, oh, with the time now being 35, how much time do I have left? I do believe that means I'm just about out of time before I need to go. Yes.
Uh-oh.
7 minutes, in fact, before I need to be out the door. No time to shower, even. That's okay. We're both sweaty gamers anyway. And since we're going to be playing Smash Brothers, going to be sweaty and stinky by the end of the night anyway. So, stinky man indeed. I'll just put on some deodorant and wash my face. It'll be fine, right? All right. So, I thank you all for watching, and hope to see you next time. When next time being, I guess tomorrow we'll simultaneously be doing the next Tinto flavor, and hopefully I will be posting my tirade then. We'll have to see for sure. I do still have lots of modding that I'm trying to get working properly as well, so no promises. And then Dark is trying to force me to watch Revenge of the Sith, so who knows?
Yes, it's necessary.
Finish up the outro. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye. Bye 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 bye.